Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to change the world one starfish or one person at a time. As always, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, share, all the stuff. Really excited for my guest today. Tim Redmond is out of Oklahoma. He calls it the heart of the U.S. Happily married with 4 kids. Has been in the helping businesses grow since college. So, I mean, we're not going to age you on that. I mean, college could have been like 2 years ago for all we know, but we're going to go with that.
You're very
and then we, right? And then we got into coaching 10 years ago when you realized you could actually not do things for free and actually build a business. And now he's branching out even from that, which is really, really cool. So welcome to the show, Tim.
This is so good, Angela, to be part of this. And I don't know exactly where you're going to take us, but it's going to be to a good place, and hopefully it'll be entertaining for those folks that are watching or listening to this. So
yes, I'm sure we'll provide a lot of value for everyone listening, because I can tell you have a wealth of knowledge, which is really exciting. So you got out of college and you got into growing businesses. How did that first of all come about? And tell us a little bit. That's not normally the step out of college thing.
Well, yeah, no, I picked one of the most boring majors, and one I wouldn't learn on my own, as accounting. And I remember being in an advanced accounting class, bored out of my mind. And for you accountants out there, I'm sorry if you love advanced
I have a lot
accounting.
of accountant friends. Hello.
Yeah. So anyway, but I remember writing down all the businesses I wanted to start or consult or help. And then I went to work for one of, at the time it was Big 8. That's how long ago it was. It was now PriceWaterhouseCoopers. And so we were on a number of jobs helping the companies and identifying weaknesses and areas they can grow in. And then I started in with a software company and really was able to grow that up from the ground zero. And had from 2 of us to about 400 employees before we sold it to Intuit. Came on board with them. And so I've just always been involved in growing businesses, did a lot of speaking around the world, and just always engaged in, well, how can you grow your organization? Because if you grow your organization, you grow the capacity of that organization to fulfill its purpose, and which is better service or more impact or developing leaders, or even making massive profit for your own enjoyment and leaving a legacy. So all of those are both thumbs up here. Cisco and Ebert are both thumbs up on these.
That's awesome. So you got into building, helping companies grow, and then you started being asked, as you went through that, you started being asked to coach just for fun, just for free, whatever. Kind of fell in your lap, and then you decided to make that into a business. Tell us a little bit about how that transition was. And also, as you went through it, what were some of the roadblocks that maybe got in your way?
Oh,
how did you overcome
them? Yeah. So you just get right to the point, don't you?
I try.
So, yeah, now I was speaking all over the world. I was speaking to different groups of leaders, business leaders at conferences, pastors in pastor conferences, political leaders in various conferences. I would speak on growth and leadership. And they would come up and ask me, it says, well, do you offer coaching? I go, sure. What's your question? I would coach them right then and there, and not realizing that, hey, there's multi-million-dollar businesses like we are now that actually get paid for doing what you're doing for free, And so I remember leaving my wife too many times to go save the world. I did a lot of work in Central and South America and Southeast Asia, just all over. Russia, Ukraine, believe it or not, it was probably safer to go there, throughout Europe. And so I'd be asked that, but I said, what if I started a business where I did this full time? I spoke sometime part-time, but the only kind of traveling we mainly focus on now is me chasing my wife around exotic resorts. That's kind of our deal.
How long have you been married? We'll come back to that in a sec. But how long have you been married? I'm just curious.
How long have I been married? I've been married for 33 years. 33. So I had to repeat that to make sure I had the right number. But 33 years and counting. So
that's so
it's now I've had 4 kids with my first wife. and I plan on keeping her if she'll keep me. If she wants to leave me, I'm going to chase her around wherever she goes so she can't get too quick.
I love it. So cool. We could touch on that too. But anyway, back to building a coaching business.
Yeah. So, I put up the shingle, on, hey, and now I'm coaching. I'm not traveling around. People more come to me, and my door just was just massively ignored. People knocking on my door.
They weren't just coming out of the woodwork.
No marketing, no sales process. So what are some big mistakes I had? Well, first of all, I was trying to be all things, all people. And I didn't develop a purple cow where I was unique and specialized as an expert in helping these kinds of companies get these kinds of results. And so I like to say that you can actually widen your reach by narrowing your focus. All right. It's very, very important. So I began to go from coaching. I had a few friends that heard that I was available. And so I'd have these gigs going. And I actually had an okay coaching program going, I guess, compared to a lot of coaches. But it was like, I'm used to building things. And it was like going super, super slow. And so we developed a purple cow to what made us really unique. We focused a niche towards contractors and towards specialty docs in the healthcare, like pain management or ENT or chiropractic or urgent care center. So those are the two main groups we really focus in on. And so by really becoming super good at that, we were able to market to them and bring them in. It was amazing. Another huge mistake I made, Angela, was I didn't have a sales workflow. And so I remember talking to a guy just the other day, and he was like, I need help. We built our first 100 clients on cold calling. And we had a 99.75% rejection rate. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was a flourishing company. So I had to learn endurance, tenacity, knock and keep knocking, keep knocking, keep knocking. Really, we were able to close 1 out of 400 firms that we were. I mean, I know it's like.
That's such good closing percentages. That's amazing.
Yeah. You're really, you're an encourager. But what that did was, it's like our coaching process goes, Angela, that who you become in the process of pursuing whatever you're pursuing is the real game.
Man.
So I developed a tenacity within myself. I learned to get numb to the no. I learned to that persistence. This guy is like, gosh, it seems impossible not getting any people to want to talk to me at all. And turned out he only called 20 people. It's like, gosh, call 500 people and then let's talk. And then I know you're committed. And the first date was like 2 hours long. I go, what are you doing? That's a horrible sales workflow. Make it easy to take the next step. So we call people and says, hey, are you open to a 10-minute discussion where we can help solve this for you? Boom. Okay, good. And then we go from 10 minutes to like, well, all right. So are you open to doing a full assessment? It takes about 45 minutes. We call it a growth plan. And I'll offer that to anybody who wants to. We waive our fee on that. But, here's a growth plan. And then we're going to take a detailed look at your business and where you want to go. We're going to create a new business model for you to get you to a new 3-year goal and give you concrete steps to get there. Boom. And then from there, we book our first coaching. We make it really easy to go from one step to another. I didn't have that initially. It was just by God's grace or people pitying me or something that I was able to get clients. It was pathetic. And so, learning that purple cow, learning that persistence of success is never giving up. And success can be found in a 1 out of 400 success rate. We built our first 100 clients with this. I mean, most coaching organizations don't even have 100 clients, right? And so those are some of the lessons we learned. I don't know if you wanted to dive into any of that, or I go on. Yeah. I go on forever with these.
So good, because the biggest thing I'm hearing is obviously, like you said, the tenacity and you kept calling people and kept doing, and it's not even if you're not in a call, whatever it is, you kept doing the work that you needed to do, even when the results weren't showing. What are some, because a lot of people do quit, like they do 20 calls and they're like, this isn't for me and this isn't going to work.
Or they even do like
200, like you took, like you said, 400 calls kind of concept. Like most people, a lot of people quit before they hit gold. And I actually just did an Instagram on that this morning, but 3 feet from gold or 2 feet from gold. But what are some things that helped you get through those? I'm sure there were days you wanted to quit. I'm sure there was moments when you're like, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I misread. Maybe I should go back. What motivated you to keep going? What were some tips that, people?
Okay. So here's now it's not fancy. But it's raw. So do you remember the Cinderella Man movie where he's the boxer in the Depression? Who was the guy? It was the guy that played Gladiator. What's his name? The Australian.
Mel Gibson?
No, not Mel Gibson. He was Gladiator. Anyway, so he played this boxer that was coming out of retirement, and he was going to box this guy that had actually killed people in the ring. And why are you doing this? Well, they had shown some scenes before that going through the Depression where they bought like a quart of milk and they divide that up and try to make it a gallon or 2 gallons. It was like you can almost see through the white, And he said, I'm boxing. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this for milk. Mm-hmm. So number one, I do it because I want a fat wallet, not a skinny wallet, right? So, I want to be successful, and that's what it takes. And who I become in the process is worth it, because I plan on continue growing in this. Number two is I love the idea that if I can get through to somebody and improve my sales process enough, that vision really kept me going. That it's like this guy he's now 68. A couple of years ago, he started with us. He built sheds in Arkansas, right? And had no retirement. He had a good business in terms of $100,000 a month, but he wasn't hardly making. He made just a couple $1,000s a month in profit. Didn't pay himself any salary, and so he's just struggling to get by. And so 2 years into it, now we've got him up to 500,000. He's got a net income now, pays himself a good salary, got a net income of 15-20%. He's making $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 a month. His retirement is filled. I mean, these are the real stories. His name is Michael. His wife is Julie. And he now spends 3 weeks a month in Florida, chasing his wife around his condo down there. He comes in once a week into Arkansas just to run the business and make sure everything's on track here. That's so getting those kind of stories kept me going. I knew I could do that. Mm-hmm. Another thing too, and this is not a shameless plug for the industry, but I hired a coach who kicked my, I want to say ass, but I'll say bum. That's it. Sorry. I hope you can take that out. Good. But anyway, just get off your rear and get after it. Success is keep on going. Failure is when you quit and just walk away. And don't allow your mistakes and your shortcomings and lack of good results to define you. Let them refine you, Mm-hmm. And so I just allow that. Those are 3 major factors here. Just my own prosperity and moving out of barely get by street to really helping clients and the vision for that. And then just having somebody there to kick me in the rear to just, okay, this is reality. This is how it works. I can be successful. And if you would have told me that from the first go, Angela, hey, you're going to have to call 400 people to get one sale. I'm like,
don't sign me up. I'm not in.
Yeah. I'm going to be an assistant manager at Payless Shoes. At least there's some certainty there. Not if that's your position. Hey, it's wonderful. Okay, I'm not knocking that, but I'm an entrepreneur trapped in this CPA body. So I'm like, I need to decide something and use into my intentionality. So So those are some things that really help me out. Does that make sense to you?
Totally makes sense. So biggest things I got, like short and form, would be really know your vision. Like that was something I really got out of it. Like you saw what you were able to do for people and you believed in what you could do for people.
Right.
Therefore, a few no's don't really stop you from going out there and like if you had the cure for cancer, why would it care if people didn't believe you? You would go talk to people. So you knew what you could do for people. And then, having a coach, that was something else that I find interesting and I want people to pay attention to. You were learning to be a coach in business and you had a coach. When you weren't making any money in your business, you still had a coach. A lot of people don't invest into themselves because they're like, we can't afford to invest into themselves,
right.
But you can't afford not to. So tell us some of your thoughts on like, why did you decide to get a coach? And, how did you work through that? Because you weren't making any money and here you are having a coach. And what does your wife say about all of this too? And all this stuff, like what was the family support like?
Okay. Well, she was frustrated because it was up and down. I mean, it'd be feast and famine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember being a CFO for a company down in Atlanta. They were paying me $10,000 a month, and that was good.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't last forever. And so she would be like, well, Tim, you know how to run companies. Why don't you just apply to be a CEO somewhere? And I'm like, I'm still an employee, and it's just hang on there, honey, So, and she got behind me and she's amazing. That's why I really, wherever you want to go, it's not penance. It's not, what I owe you, but it's like, hey, you've earned your stripes and I'm going to chase you around anywhere you want to. We have a little secret here. I chase her until she catches me. So that's,
I love it.
That's kind of our deal.
Yeah.
That probably doesn't help anybody with anything, but I do love her. So, I believe in taking the medicine. Here I am coaching, and if I'm not open to coaching, what kind of coach am I? Like right now, we have, and we're a pretty good size company, several $1 million a year, and we're very successful, very profitable. And yet I've got 4 coaching organizations right now helping us with different aspects of what we're doing. It's like, when you get into and you're working with a coach, ask them who are they having coached them? Are they taking their own medicine? I think that's important to do. And it's like, well, I don't need coaching. I know all the answers. Really? It's okay. Well, then your coaching bin should be full to overflowing, and there's a lot of starving artists, but there's a lot of starving coaches that know how to give answers to everybody in every business except their own, and so it's really good to take your own medicine. It's knowing that you get an expert to move forward. That's what the top performing people, whether it's acting or athletics or CEO in the C-suite, and virtually anybody who's anybody gets there faster with a coach. So if that's true, then why wouldn't I follow that myself? And you're right. There are some months that I hardly had the money to pay the coach. And, during those, the peaks, great, no problem. But during the trials, during those low times, it was very low. It's like, right. I got to borrow money just to survive this month.
Right. Still paying.
But if you really want to grow your business, there is that adage about burning your ships in the bay. There's really something to that, just being all in. Your success requires a full-ass effort, and you can't be doing it with a half-ass effort, and it just won't be successful. So,
so good. Say that again. Like, that's so good. So many people I see that are like, let's try this out, and they don't succeed. They're like, oh, it didn't work, but they didn't actually give it. It wasn't their all. It was a plan.
Let me give you this example. I got 3 sons and a daughter, and they're all just amazing thanks to my wife's influence. And my 3rd son played football, American football, and even now he's 26. His body, he's like got a body like a chiseled Greek statue. It's just perfect. and he's doing this online fitness, and he went through the schooling and he did all this stuff. And for 2 months, he's like staring at his business, and his business is staring at him and not doing anything. I go, Josh, I said, listen, I said, your business is begging you. It's starving for your energy, massive amounts of energy. You get mastery in life by hugging a thorn bush for 5 years, not for 30 seconds. You keep hugging it until you master it. So Josh, let's do this here. I'm going to challenge you to get 20 people signed up in 1 month. Dad, that's impossible. In 2 months worth of work, he had one person signed up, and that was his cousin, who just did it just to connect with him and just support him, kind of thing. Go get him, Tiger. And so it's like, Josh, you can do this, but you've got to pour heart and soul into it. Full ass effort, not half ass effort. And your destiny, your future, new abilities, your wealth is all waiting for you to just completely pour into your business, full ass, all energy. And he goes, I don't know. I say, well, okay. So we talk through it. We got a mindset to say, okay, let's do it. What's the lead measures? He's going to stay with those things. He finished, this just happened here. He finished the month with 21 new clients.
Yay.
And he proved to himself that your business will respond with energy. Now you get a coach. I hired a coach to make sure that my energy I was going to put in was going to be properly allocated, working on the right stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got this business. I've been working like 80 hours a week, and I've got people are like repulsed from the business. I'm not attracting anything but rejection. Which, by the way, here's a thought. KPI, key performance indicator, Angela. I'm sure you teach this to your people. So we have all kinds of different KPIs. Here's one to stick in your pipe and smoke it. Okay. And it's legal, by the way. It's been legalized. I don't know what you're putting in the pipe, but there you go. So try this on for a KPI. You're going to measure the number of no's you get in a day.
I love that.
So if you can get 100 no's a day, I'm going to predict with near 100% accuracy that you're going to be massively successful if you don't give up. And I don't go into business with anybody that doesn't have at least a 10-year commitment, because that's just how business goes. Now, you may be profitable from early on, that's great, but give me a 10-year commitment or no deal, And so, even the expanding out and buying businesses or taking a business in trouble, and kind of like the Prophet does on CNBC. I don't know whether you get that in Canada, but, it's like buying a portion of the business and helping them out here. Unless they got a huge commitment, no deal. I mean, come on, let's get committed and let's pour into it.
That's so good. I love that. Go for no's. I know some of my team have done that, and it's been, they try to get to 100 and they can't ever get to 100 because there's so many yeses that they're too busy to get.
Boom. Good. That's right? What we like.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah. And it's a fun game because it's like, oh, well, I could do that. Well, go do it and see what happens. And it's amazing. I think of it right now. If I went out for 100 no's, I don't think I could do it, because you get good. And so you start to not get no's because you get good at what you're saying, right?
That's the beauty of it.
At the beginning, I got a lot of no's. So.
Yeah. It's even worse than. So that's if you're willing to pay the price, entrepreneurship requires you to go all in, and coming from a place of faith. And I'm not shoving anything down, but this one rabbi told me that the word businessman or business person, actually, in the Hebrew, one of the Hebrew words is man of faith. And why is that? Because what does an entrepreneur do? Is they take all their money, they borrow all they can, they buy into a business or they start a business, and there's no promise of success. There's no promise of people buying your product or service. So you're sticking your neck out there. So that action is like an action of faith, of moving forward without a promise, but you're moving forward with certainty. And that's the kind of faith or a certainty or confidence that builds empires, that builds successful businesses. So
So good. So in all of that, like people listen to this, and I know when I talk to people and they're like, "Oh, you're just so confident." Did you always? And I feel a lot of it is confidence. Where did that come from? Where did your confidence that you would win, that you could go through that, and how does someone help build that in themselves?
okay, so I'm not. Yeah, I was looking forward to this, and so I just stayed at my home in this very room here.
Yeah.
I cried tears. A grown man that was successful in corporate life, making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, very successful. In my 20s and 30s, and I cried in this room because I just didn't see past my pain and past the bad, undesirable results. And so it's interesting when you sell anything. I ask people, what's the first product you sell when you sell anything? And people say, well, myself. Well, I think there's a product right before that that's really important. If we can get this might be worth putting up with all my drivel up to this point. And that is the first product you sell before you sell yourself, and you sell your emotional state.
Tell me more about that.
Most people that you're talking to sell whatever you're selling, and selling is just helping people make a better decision,
right?
On something. And so, when they're selling, they come out there and the people they're selling to are like negative, they're down, they're ready to say no at anything and anybody that moves,
Right.
And so, you've got to have an emotional state that comes in and impacts their emotional state contagiously, where they borrow from your emotional state to have the energy to say yes or maybe, enough to listen to you. So the first product you sell is your emotional state of confidence. And so I had to go into reading great works, inspiring works. I had to go back to my vision. Where am I headed? And why do I want to head there? And I read that out loud. I declare it. I spit all over my mirror. I did all those crazy things. Okay. And just to build myself up, because I'm going to export whatever's on the inside. We can't play poker with people. People can read you really well. And so they're going to read your emotional state. Do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in the world around you? Do you believe that things are going in the right direction for you? Or do you think everybody's against you? And if you project that negativity, people are going to buy into that and say, hell yeah, I agree with that negativity. So no, get out of here. So,
right.
So that's, we just have to understand. We got to build ourselves up. Take time in the morning to have a morning ritual where you build yourself up. I got this. This is something that I hope I'm not boring you or your amazing people, but here's a great question to ask. And if you had a friend that spoke to you the way you're speaking to yourself, would they still be your friend? If you spoke to you the way you're speaking to if you had a friend that spoke to you the way you're speaking to yourself, would they still be your friend? So stop picking on yourself. You're the best thing you got going. So
right?
Build a case for yourself, not against yourself. And when you build your case for yourself, you come out there with a higher level of energy, and you will get a better response from the world around you.
So good, guys. Like, this is so good. I know we're going to end soon because we don't go too long, but I mean, this could go forever. But out of that, have a morning routine, build yourself up, read your goals out loud. I say twice a day, spit at the mirror. I love that. And read it with feeling, and build yourself into the person that, you like. You should like yourself. So you need to keep doing that stuff every day so you can keep building yourself up. So when you go out there, your inner self doesn't change based on the results of what happens in what people say. If they say no, or they say whatever they say, that shouldn't affect what you feel inside. Which is so good. And I mean, everyone that's successful always says the same thing: success leaves clues. So, here's another guy that's saying this. If you're listening to this, you're not reading, you're not doing this stuff, why not try it? I remember when someone told me, read your goals out loud. I'm like, that seems so dumb. Why am I talking to myself? But I was like, I got a point where I was just frustrated, and he was way more successful than me. And I was like, sure, let's try this
Let's
thing.
do it.
Talk to myself out loud in the freaking streets. Like, if it works, let's try it. And it works. And I was like, dang, this worked. I don't know why, but it works.
We're talking to ourselves all the time. So what are we saying to ourselves?
A lot of it's,
it's interesting, this whole self-talk deal. I was reading this one article, so how valid it is, I don't know, but they said, that, on your self-talk, 80% of your self-talk is you talking to yourself about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And most of that is negative. So you're talking to yourself all the time anyway.
Might as well put good stuff in.
Be positive, right?
I agree. That's so good. All right. Before we wrap up, one more thing I wanted to touch on is, you've talked lots about your wife, 33 years of marriage, 4 kids, building a business. There's been a lot of struggles. I'm curious, this is more for me than maybe my listeners, but what are some of your secrets to your happy marriage?
Well, it's like my grandfather said at his 50th wedding anniversary. He said, we decided before we got married, I was going to make all the big decisions. She was going to make all the small decisions. And he said, after 50 years, we haven't come into one big decision yet. So, on a serious note, preferring my spouse, it makes me better when I'm unselfish. It makes me better. Well, it's all about me. I got to make sure my needs are being met. True, but your needs can be met in kind of almost an opposite way, where you're really focused on really, she's responsible for her own happiness, but I don't want to work against that, make it tough for her to be happy. I want to, and so I had one guy that I was reading this devotional here, and he had a group of guys he was asking, and he said, hey, if you had your wife and spouse, so if you're a wife with a husband, and said, if your spouse was going to rate you on a scale 1 to 10, 1, it sucks, 10, you're better than anybody on the planet, how would your spouse rate you on a scale 1 to 10, and how good of a spouse you are to them? And most of the guys in this group are like 2, 3, negative 14. And one guy, it was an older guy, he's about 80 years old. He said, well, my wife would give me a 10. They're like, well, that's kind of arrogant. He goes, no. I make it part of my planning, part of my meditation, where I'm thinking, how can I bless her today? Mm-hmm. So that helps. If you're a guy and you're talking to a gal, and this may be stereotypical, I don't mean to offend the super sensitive on this, but, just be there and don't frickin' solve a problem. Just do a more difficult thing. Listen and make some listening noises along the way. And there's great results from that. Just being there and listening. I like to define respect as valuing the differences without having to agree. It takes an enormous amount of maturity for us to do that, because you learn to respect. Respect is not something you demand. Respect is something you give. Especially with most people have got abusive relationships or bad authority models. And so especially if you're an authority, or you're in a relationship where there's not authority, but a relationship connection, when you respect that person, you value their differences. I mean, I've lost over $1 million because I didn't listen to God's sexy voice in my life. And that's what I call the voice of my wife. It's like, yeah, but I know I'm the business guy here. And well, I don't have a good feeling. Well, I just ramrodded that. And we've lost a lot of money in investments because of it. It's really hurt a lot of our early years. And so those are some ideas. I hope those are helpful.
Those are really good. I love that. Every day, just think about what you can do. And, for anyone that's single, also I was thinking, like, with your parents, with anyone in your life, just that's significant to you, just going through that thought process. I love that. So wrapping up, sorry, Go ahead.
Yeah. So one other thing here, the one thing that just makes you likable, it will grow your business, it'll grow your marriage or your key relationships, whatever that is. If you live and you're led by gratitude and you infuse your life with gratitude, it gives you an unfair advantage to operate in the best version of yourself. And I know that's one of the main purposes of this podcast. I just was doing my research is when you're just fill your life with gratitude, writing down your gratitudes, you're really cross with your spouse. What are you grateful for about them and for them, to them? And just writing that down and thinking about that, it just equips you to be able to come from a place of abundance and contribution rather than scarcity and need.
So good. I love that. So in wrapping up, I always ask 3 final questions and then anything we maybe didn't touch on that you just think everyone really needs to listen to. Yeah. First final question, if someone's looking for their purpose, everyone's always looking for a purpose. What's one sentence that you would say that could help them find it?
Pour into whatever you're doing, because purpose is not just in what you do, it's how you do whatever you do.
Ooh, I like that.
There's purpose in everything. And I learned to pour my heart into being an auditor at Cooper's Library. I'm like, I hated myself. I hated the work. The first 6 months, I was rated the very bottom of 15 new recruits. And then I turned my heart around where I was grateful for it. I poured heart and soul into it. And the year later, I was one of the top 2 auditors just because, I didn't look for my passion. I poured purpose into whatever I was doing.
So good. I love that. And so good for so many people that say are working a job they don't like. You give it your all. That's really cool. Number 2, and I'm sure you have more than one, but what's your favorite quote and why?
Oh, Jesus. From the movie Matrix, Morpheus tells Neo, free your mind.
Good. I like it. And number 3, what's one word or sentence you want on your gravestone?
Oh, wow. I've actually wrote my eulogy already.
Oh, so powerful.
Yeah, it's he lived to give.
Lived to give. Oh, so good. All right, you run into someone in a coffee shop. They're like, Tim, that podcast was great. I learned lots. Was there anything that we didn't touch on today that you just really feel we should have touched on?
I want to go back to just really making sure your internal talk is positive. It's really important for your future, really important for the obstacles that you're facing now, but even the bigger obstacles you're going to face. You're going to be a lot better equipped when you build yourself up rather than tear yourself down. So I just really want to make sure that you're for yourself and not against yourself. So
I love that. And saying it is a really good book for anyone that's listening that I recommend. And I heard it recommended. I didn't start it, but called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shalom Helmstetter. Highly recommend on that subject of what you say when you talk to yourself. So, thank you so much for being on, Tim. Really appreciate it. Been great to you. Yes.
Could I mention one thing here?
Yes, definitely.
For those that are business owners, if they want to get like a growth plan is where we look at your business with a whole fresh set of eyes. We look at where you're actually at and the weaknesses and strengths. We actually build a capacity model, and from that we do a 3-year plan of a whole new future for you. And then we build 8 to 10 concrete action items for you to get to that 3-year goal. It's powerful. We normally charge $2,500 for that because it adds so much. I mean, it typically adds $100,000 of profit to your business in the next 12 months. It's so powerful. We're going to waive that if, when they email me, Tim at Redmond Growth, or get onto our website, redmondgrowth.com, if they will leave you a 5-star review or talk about how much they love Angela, connect me to your podcast, we'll waive that $2,500 fee.
Wow.
I mean, if you got a business. So I wanted to just leave them with a gift. If they want to do that, you're a business person, want a new set of eyes, it's phenomenal. Even if you have no intention of using our services, that's fine. Just you'll love the growth plan. So wow,
that is so generous, Tim. And I know our listeners appreciate it. And I hope some of them do reach out, because I think that's an amazing opportunity to grow and to learn from someone that's, doing it and growing. And that's why you're doing so good. I love the value add. As always, listeners, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, follow Tim, reach out to him if you have any questions in his company. We'll have all the links, all the information, all that stuff, of course, in the show notes. Thank you so much for being on, Tim. Let's go out there. Let's change one life or one starfish at a time. And together we can change the world.
Boom.